Shout out to Le'Veon Dickerson, living up to that hype.
Just hold on.
Whoa, one bright spot.
Le'Veon Dickerson Sanders.
What's up, good people? Welcome to another edition of Field Vision, brought to you, of course, by War Room Sports and Sports King. I'm one of your hosts, Devin McMillan, and I'm here with the homies. I got B. Austin from War Room Sports. I got Frank from Sports Kings.
Yo, shout out to Tony Gonzalez and Matt Bryan. Helped me with my 38-point fantasy comeback. Kickers are people too. Let's go.
I got Jim from Sports Kings. Sorry about the Steelers, man.
0-4. Don't talk to me.
And I got Jimmy from War Room Sports. What's up, homie?
Yo, it's Bronco Gang all day. But hold up, real quick. Go download the War Room Sports mobile app on Android and iPhone, and if you don't, kill yourself.
I'll be coming to the house to collect the body.
All right, but I'm back in the building after a nice little Disney trip last week. I watched the show. You fellas held it down last week. I was down there, getting sunned by Goofy. I don't know if y'all saw that photo or not, but yeah. Hey, speaking of that, man, I got stuck on that damn ride for like.
I was dying with reading your status.
Anyway, man, this edition we're going to talk about quarterback play in the NFL because we got a few people that's actually tearing it up, lighting it up right now. We got some big money people who are stinking it up right now, and then we just got some other dude that we're going to talk about out there in Detroit. But the three quarterbacks right now who are lighting the league on fire is one, Mr. Peyton Manning, and we're going to briefly talk about him, hopefully without Jimmy and B. Austin getting into their weekly Peyton Manning argument. You got Drew Brees and Saints land, and then you got Phillip Rivers. I want to know. We can start with Phillip Rivers because I'm going to ask you guys this question: is Phillip Rivers back? Jimmy likes to say Phillip Rivers went from top 10 to not mentioned at all. This year, he seems to be getting back into that groove that he was in maybe 3 seasons ago and beyond. Is Drew Brees back? Not Drew Brees. Phillip Rivers, is he back?
Yeah, yo, this is Phillip Rivers' Stillmatic album right here. This season. He's playing well, but not only that, Gates is playing well too. Gates is healthy, and I'm not gonna lie, they both look like they were on their way traded to a team to never be heard from again. But they seem rejuvenated. They got a new coach, and they're playing well right now.
You're saying Phillip is ether in the league right now.
Yeah, definitely. This
getting
is
his relevancy back up.
There you
what
go.
do you guys think?
I mean, he's doing so good. I'm gonna throw out the HDH conversation. I don't know. It's the only explanation.
Oh!
No, but seriously, he's playing great. Picked him up on my fantasy team last week. Put me in prime position for my 38-point comeback. And no, but he's been great. The only thing that scares me is what happens when Gates goes down, because it's going to happen. Antonio Gates will not play 16 games. And
Damn!
Hey, listen, it's never happened before, I don't think. So why am I going to start thinking it's going to happen now?
He lost a receiver too. They just IR'd his best target on the outside. So I don't know. And I'm like you. I just traded for him in my fantasy league.
Yeah.
So
I think a big part of it.
I think
a big part of it is not having pressure on him too. All those North Turner years, they were expected, and they just had pressure on them, and they just couldn't live up to it. I think now that San Diego's kind of, I don't think anybody really talks about the San Diego Chargers, so I think that's Phillip Rivers' best.
So basically, Frank, what you're saying is after they get this wild card berth this season, next season he's going to stink again.
Trash.
Because they're going to expect him to do something.
Just straight temper tantrums every week.
Well, let's talk about his numbers so far through the first quarter of the season. In 4 games, his numbers are silly. And the crazy part about this is, I'll read his numbers, and then you still have Peyton Manning, who has even better numbers than this. But Phillip Rivers is completing 73.9% of his passes. And, he has the highest percentage of any passer 10 yards down the field or more as well. He's completing like 68% of those passes. 1,199 yards, 11 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. That's a rating of 118.8. So when Phillip Rivers used to be in those maybe top 5, top 6 conversations a few years ago, he disappeared from the earth. he may be trying to climb his way back up in there, up into those numbers. But like Frank said, we'll probably have to see what he does, of course, for the rest of this year, but also for next season.
You know what, Dev? It's crazy because I was looking at the passing statistics in the entire league, and they're just off the chain everywhere. I mean, yo, do running backs even play in the league anymore? I mean, you got cats now that are young quarterbacks and rookies getting a chance to throw 40, 50 times a game. It never used to be that way. I mean,
yeah, the running backs still play. They catch the ball.
Yeah, like
no, they just catch.
Before Brandon Wheaton lost his job, he had a game where he threw like 52 times. Like, seriously?
Yeah.
Yo, don't even get
EJ Emanuel's throwing the ball over 40 times a game. It's just crazy.
And that's something we're gonna talk about a little later when we talk about Matthew Stafford. I got a question that I want to ask you guys. But go ahead, Bielsa. What do you want to say?
I think the rules change has benefited the game on the offensive side of the ball, at least in terms of the amount of throws. That's all this is. I mean, Phillip Rivers specifically. I just thought he was one of those guys where there was too much pressure on him to begin with. We kind of put him in the top 5, and he's not the type of dude to carry a team. Very good quarterback. I kind of put him in the same class as a Tony Romo. You know, and we overrate him, but unfairly so. Like he's just showing. I mean, they have a good defense, and they're throwing the ball. So maybe he's back, maybe he's not. I'm not going to gauge after 4 games though. I know he did it to my Eagles.
Whoa.
For me, I got to say it's a combination of everything you guys just said. You look at the last couple of years, his offensive line was terrible, their defense was terrible. Antonio Gates couldn't stay on the field. Now he's got time to throw the ball, the defense is playing better, and he's got his favorite target back. So you put all those 3 things together, and that's what we're seeing, the product on the field.
That HGH.
And HGH.
Yeah, there you go.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. Yo, it looks like
froze out.
Yeah, Dev is froze. But here's the thing though. Let's just jump to the next quarterback. Let's talk about Drew Brees. What do you guys think about Drew Brees and the season he's having thus far? Because we just watched him on Monday night play a very competitive Dolphins team. I'm not gonna lie. Coming into that game, I thought the Saints would kill him, and they ended up blowing him out anyway. But in the beginning, me and B. Austin were talking. I was like, yo, the Dolphins really play defense. Like, the effort is there. Like, that's one thing that wasn't there before is the effort, but the effort is there with the Dolphins. So, what do you think about how Drew Brees is playing so far in the beginning of this season? Dev is back with us, but Frank, what do you think?
First of all, I told you guys last week that Dolphins weren't about that life yet. They were going to get that work.
Exactly.
New Orleans gave them that work.
You did.
No, Drew Brees, I'm going to make a very bold prediction right now. Jimmy's not going to like me, even though he really doesn't. He hates Peyton Manning anyways. Drew Brees will win the MVP, not Peyton Manning, because he's going to play that well. I think Peyton's going to regress a little bit, and people are going to overreact. I mean, first of all, anytime Peyton throws an interception, people are just going to act like, what the hell's going on? He doesn't do that anymore. So, but I think New Orleans is going to run the table behind Drew Brees. They're going to go 13-3, 14-2. Drew Brees is going to throw 45 touchdowns and win the MVP. That's just how well he's playing, and it's funny how much difference a coach can make. You know, you don't. Yeah. I think coaches kind of get the shaft a little bit. Pause, but you know.
Yeah. Yo, but you know what's crazy, Frank, about what you said, because Peyton is playing out of this world right now, and because of that, like, Drew is not really getting his due the way he should be, because Drew is playing out of this world too, but Peyton Manning is overshadowing everybody right now. But watching that Saints offense is ridiculous too. Jimmy Graham is like unstoppable.
And Sproles is huge for that team.
You could just throw the ball up to Jimmy Graham and he's gonna go get it.
Yeah.
But I think it'll be like an MVP for Peyton and an Offensive Player of the Year type year for Drew Brees. Because, you know, no matter what happens, everybody's going to give Peyton a whole lot of credit for, you know, everything he does pre-snap and, you know, I'm not sure how much the offensive coordinator is getting, you know, how much credit he should get, but Peyton always gets that credit whether it's real or not. So I think the MVP will probably go there.
Yeah. Drew does the same thing, which is crazy. He doesn't scream Omaha and you know, hurry.
The funny thing is, Drew Brees does use Omaha. I just noticed that on Monday night. I'm like,
so does Eli Manning. Eli Manning does too.
I think every good quarterback, Tom Brady does it, but
Yeah,
right,
but we know Omaha needs jump off sides now. But anyway,
here's Drew's numbers real quick, Jim.
Okay, give us his numbers.
66.9 completion percentage, 1,434 yards, 10 touchdowns, 4 interceptions for a 103.8 quarterback rating. That's
I don't know why anyone's surprised by Drew Brees. He's been doing it forever. He's straight balling right now. He gets Sean Payton back. It's a wrap. I agree with Frank. They're going to go nuts this season.
But hold on, Jim.
It's not surprising.
It's not surprising, but these numbers are off the charts. Yo, he's on pace for a season unlike anything he's ever had. Like these numbers are ridiculous.
I think maybe he's got a little chip on his shoulder.
These numbers are straight stupid, yo.
But I heard someone mention Eli Manning, and he's like blurred lines right now. What is wrong with him?
I hope he stays blurred this week.
I think with Drew, he's got his coach back. I've noticed a huge difference in the play calling, obviously on the offensive side of the ball. And the thing that I think we can't discount is prior to the year getting underway, I think we thought that Kenny Vaccaro was going to be out there on defense by himself, and that's not the case. Their defense is balling as well.
Yeah, Keenan Lewis is
not great, but the pass rush, which is the most important part when your defense isn't great. If you can get a pass rush, it can mask things that you're not doing in the secondary.
Just ask
shout out to the Giants. Shout out to French Giants.
That's the Giants. But
because when NASCAR isn't racing, then the Giants just not looking too good.
Yeah, so I think that that's really one of the other things you can attribute to the Saints' success. But Drew Brees is still, even after all of this time, Drew Brees is still underrated.
Yeah,
he's underrated.
Yo, the Giants are in like the nationwide series right now. They're not even in the spring. They're not even in the big.
They're in the cup. Yo, they're not in the cup.
The other thing I'd say about Drew Brees and the Saints in general is that when people count you out, when people are just like they're done, because that's what people were saying last year about the Saints. You know, it's just kind of maybe we won't see the Saints that we've seen these past few years. When people do that to you and you have talent and you're competitive, yo, Drew Brees is just throwing it in everybody's face right now. He's just looking at every person that was like, yo, Drew Brees is done, Saints are done, and he's just giving them the big FU.
Yo, I feel like the Rocky music should be playing as you make that statement. You're like, when everyone counts you out, you just
like
that, or the Karate Kid music.
I want to give a shout out to Kevin Colbert for letting Keenan Lewis walk for nothing. He's good. He thinks better. Good job.
You mad, bro?
Yes.
Yeah, just a little bit. All right, so another, of course, we mentioned his name, Peyton Manning. He's a third quarterback that's kind of lighting the league on fire right now. His numbers real quick, 75% completion percentage, 1,470 yards, 16 touchdowns, and 0 interceptions for 138 quarterback rating. Come on, man. Seriously?
That's the only reaction.
He threw 4 more touchdowns against my Eagles last week. That game was kind of unbearable, except for the fact that I'm a Peyton Manning fan, so I guess I didn't mind sitting there and watching the rest of it.
Oh, I was rooting
for But what do you guys think? I mean, because it may have been the same type of situation with Peyton Manning, even though he had a great season last year. You know, before that, the question was, will Peyton Manning ever play again? And if he plays, will he ever play to the levels that we're used to seeing? Last year, he had a great season, but we still had, all the whispers of the zip on his ball seemed to be lost. You know, he was throwing a lot of wobblers out there. It just didn't seem like his arm strength was there, and people probably figured that it wasn't coming back. Does he have something to prove as well? I mean, because I know in Denver it's like a Super Bowl or bust situation. Is it just that, or is it something individual for Peyton?
I'll just put it like this. I'm not even going to argue with B. Austin. If you remember, the Broncos haven't lost a regular season game in a long time, going back to last year. So he's kind of continuing what he did in the second half of last season. The second half of last season, he was playing just like this. He was playing lights out. The problem is he didn't play lights out in the playoffs. So it's kind of crazy, but that's what made that loss last year so bad, is that what happens in the regular season kind of doesn't matter. But that's why the loss stung so bad, is because
none
of this matters.
Cliche, man?
No, I'm not because it's true. If he throws 70 touchdowns in the regular season and they lose the first playoff game, it might be worse that he threw 70 touchdowns in the regular season. To be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean it's one of those like double-sided cliches because for a team like Denver where the expectations are so high, you can use that because you already know they're going to the playoffs. But at the same time, somebody can make the argument, what you do in the regular season is what gets you into the playoffs. So, it's one of those things. But Denver right now seems like they could just show up and whoop everybody's ass. So.
But the thing is that that's how they were last year going into the playoffs. I mean, I don't think they lost a game since like week 5 of last year. Something stupid.
I mean,
like
and
that.
they were 13
and they had home field.
So.
Yeah, they were 13-3. They had home field, and they were playing like lights out at the end of the season. Things just didn't work out for various reasons, but that's the thing about it is like at one part of me is like rooting because I like blowing teams out, of course, obviously, Pauls, but then it's like it's just hard, man. You got to like wait for the playoffs for this to matter. None of this matters.
Because the playoffs are
I could care less about stats.
Playoffs are a whole different monster because you're going up against the best of the best. Preparation is a little more serious in the playoffs. So I mean, I see what you're saying because I mean, the playoffs is a long time from now, so you're kind of suffering waiting for the end result of this. And I don't want to jinx you or your squad, but right now they're looking like a team that could possibly go undefeated.
Even if you don't care about stats, though, no interceptions, not one. Like
that's definitely impressive. But another thing I want to see us play some better teams because like our schedule is kind of crazy too. We played Dallas and then we played Jacksonville. I mean, it's after like playing the Eagles and the Giants. You know what I'm saying? So it's like we haven't really had.
What week do you guys play the Redskins? Because that's when he's going to throw his first pick. Y'all going to beat them by 40, but the fans are still going to have a moral victory that they intercepted Peyton Manning. That's kind of stuff they do. But
I think I'm ready. I think I'm ready to say that Peyton Manning is better than Tim Tebow. I'm ready.
Yo,
you finally ready to say that?
I mean, he has to get he has to get at least one playoff win for the Broncos.
That's right.
I mean, Tebow did do that. Manning has
still equal because he got him a bye, so it was the same round.
Okay.
So actually won a game though, so that
Shout out to Tebow and shout out to Yeezus. But anyway,
Tebow's still the best thing that happened in Denver since John Elway. Till Peyton get that playoff win.
Last 2 quarterbacks to get a playoff win, John Elway and Tebow.
I mean, I think you got to look at who he's throwing the ball to. It's just unfair. You got Demaryius Thomas taking screens to the house, and he can go deep. You got Welker underneath. You got Julius Thomas in the seam. You got Decker on the other side, and the running backs are catching the ball out of the backfield. You can't cover all those guys, and Peyton Manning always makes the right decision. It's just
but the thing is that Peyton makes them that way.
I was about to say, were they great?
But I mean, he's got weapons everywhere, and he just always.
Eric Decker is not good. He's athletic.
But even 2 seasons ago, people were saying that Demaryius Thomas or whatever his name is was a waste of talent. 2 seasons ago.
Demaryius Thomas was a first-round draft pick, so he's supposed to be good. And he did win the playoff game against the Steelers by taking that touchdown to the house.
No, Demaryius Thomas is an absolute beast. You just got to get a guy that can throw him the ball.
Right. And Demaryius Thomas puts me in the mind frame of a T.O. A little bit larger.
Me in that frame,
but a little bit larger body-wise, but definitely the strength of his game is about what he's going to do. What he's going to do after he catches the rock. He's not a route guy. He's not a hands guy. He's a get him the ball and let him do his thing after he gets the ball. Eric Decker drops a lot of passes.
He's better than Riley Cooper.
Not this year. Eric Decker had a lot of drops. Eric Decker had a lot of drops in the past, specifically when playing with Tebow. Those ducks was coming his way. But he's held onto the ball a lot this year. He doesn't have the same problems he had in the past.
It's just his size too. I mean, he's 6'3" and he can get down the field. It's like a good pass.
But it's also a thing where. So Jim, what you're saying is not only is John Elway the greatest quarterback ever, he's also the greatest executive that he put his team together in 2 years. I mean, is that what you're saying, Jim?
I don't think Manning saw anything close to this talent level in Indy, and you put that many weapons around him, he's going to be unstoppable, and that's the case.
Imagine being Wes Welker.
We're naming Julius Thomas and all of this 4 weeks ago during fantasy drafts. Nobody knew who the hell that was.
Right.
So, I'm not going to tout all of these guys.
Jim made a big statement against Reggie Wayne and Marvin Harrison.
Hey, Marvin couldn't get a job after Indy, so it might be some validity to that.
Yo, Marvin
couldn't
wasn't trying to get a job at the Indy. Marvin moved to the Cleveland.
Yo, Marvin was shooting people.
I ain't no comment, yo.
Murder game,
he wasn't trying to get a job. He
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
But Jim, what you're saying though? No jokes aside, Jim, you're saying that Elway is one of the greatest executives now, right? Is that what you're saying?
It's looking that way, yeah.
All jokes aside.
Okay.
Well,
Okay. I just wanted to get that on the record. That's all.
All right. Another guy. He's not in that category of exactly lighting the league on fire, but he's playing pretty well. And that's Matthew Stafford. I just wanted to ask you guys a question about Matthew Stafford because he just became he has the most yards of any quarterback in league history after 50 games. And the thing is, he doesn't even have 50 games. He has 49 games, and he has 14,069 yards in 49 games. So that's the most in history. This season, he's throwing 64%. 1,262 yards, 7 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, with a 96.2 passer rating, and he's not, throwing every pass to Megatron this year. But his success, his numbers. We could go back to what B. Austin was alluding to a little bit earlier. Is this just something we're going to see in the league now? Because we know guys like Peyton and Drew and Tom Brady. We know they're great already, but even with them being a little long in the tooth, their numbers are getting a little crazy right now. So is this just what we're going to see in the league because they're trying to legislate defensive backs out of the game, or
it's the change in the game? It's the metamorphosis of the game to really a passing based league. It's almost like they're taking a page out of Canadian football and a page out of Arena League. Like everything is passing based. They've gotten the defense down to where basically you're just standing out here. You can't hit them. Don't touch them. Tackle them if they catch the ball. So it inflates the numbers. It definitely inflates the numbers. When you're going to drop somebody back 40-plus times, they're going to put up yardage. They're going to put up numbers.
Okay, but let me ask you this question.
Is putting up numbers.
Let me ask you this. That's because they're always down like 90 points. There's no choice. But
damn, all that Redskins slander.
But at the same time, though, I know it may inflate the numbers a little bit, but you still can't do this unless you're a good quarterback, right?
No, that's not
gone
true.
are the days of saying Matthew Stafford is garbage, right? Or
no, I'm definitely not saying Matt Stafford.
Most of the defense
I actually would say that Matt Stafford is balling based on the eye test. There are throws that he's making that I don't think he would have made 2 years ago. There's accuracy. There's decisions being made pre-snap. He was picking the Redskins apart. Not just the Redskins. He was picking the Redskins apart with those slant passes. That I know it ain't hard to do, but it's
Michael Vick picked the Redskins apart in the week 1.
He didn't pick them apart. He just ran past them. Anyway, Matt Stafford. Yeah, Matt Stafford is making throws that I would say definitely big boy throws, and he's definitely what I would consider a very talented quarterback, a good quarterback, not upper echelon. But to Jim's point that I think you're gonna make, so I won't steal it. But yeah, you don't have to be great to put up big numbers.
No, the point.
Does anybody here think Matthew Stafford's a bum?
I don't think he's a bum.
No, I don't think
Geno
he's
Smith,
a
but
he's not headed for bumdom. But hold on though, to quote B. Austin, he's not headed for bumdom. But at the same time, I just can't wait till his career is over because he's putting up meaningless numbers at the end of the day. He's gonna have his numbers will be so crazy. There'll be some Hall of Famers who he's gonna lap, and they'll be all for nothing. He's like a fantasy owner's dream, but I don't see him being a big time quarterback in terms of winning in the league. Now that may change because they put more pieces around him. It all depends upon that front four, and if Sue can stay on the field and not suspended.
Yeah, I think he's just a product of his environment. The product of the environment of the new rules. But to get into your question more so about if it's just about the rules and if it's going to stay this way, I don't think so. I think you need a generation, which is a long time obviously, but I think as defensive players learn the new rules and are taught, from the Pee-wee level all the way up to play the new rules, the way the game's going to be played, I think you'll see defensive improvements. I think what you're seeing now is the defenses have to. I mean, you have guys that have been playing for 10 years that have to adjust on the fly, and then the offense is just picking them apart, taking advantage of it. But that's really what I think. I don't think it's going to last forever. I don't think this is just a new way of football and it's just going to be that way.
I don't think football is going to last forever, but that's a whole nother argument.
I think we're just seeing Stafford mature as a quarterback because he did have a great year 2 years ago, had a down year last year, and now his learning curve has caught up to him. And like the Austin said, he's making these throws that he probably wouldn't have made, especially last season. He looked awful. But you also have to look at the presence of Reggie Bush is really helping that offense. He's catching the ball in the backfield, and he's just, I mean, last week he tore it up. His job is so much easier with.
Gives him a run threat.
Yeah, he's got a security blanket and a running game now, and he's just overall matured as a quarterback. And for Detroit to do anything, he has to play well, which he has so far.
Yeah, and I think the other thing is for Matthew Stafford, I think it's always been about his health too, whether he can stay on the field. It's not what he can do while he's on there.
Yeah.
At this point, I think he's pretty good, and that's a lot coming from me because I used to, throw the overrated word around because for a while he was just, tossing a bunch of meaningless yards around. I think he's pretty good. I think he is coming into his own now.
So he's no Carson Palmer anymore? He's not Carson Palmer?
He got
that binky. He got that binky out of his mouth. Megatron was like a binky for him. He was just every situation.
On third down, Megatron. Look over there and just toss it up. But last question to you guys. The last question to you guys before we do our picks and get out of here. Joe Flacco, who's coming off of a 5 interception game this past week versus the Buffalo Bills. He has 7 interceptions on the season to go against 5 touchdowns, and he's only completing 57.6% of his throws with a 69.3 quarterback rating. Do you guys think that the brass up in Baltimore are starting to regret the contract that they gave him after the Super Bowl, or is it way too early?
No, they're definitely regretting it. You want to know the funny thing about the Joe Flacco signing? It was one of those things where everybody thought it was a bad idea when it happened. Like, there was nobody even defending it. They were like, wait, really? You just paid Joe Flacco? Like, you just did that. There was nobody like, oh, yeah, Joe Flacco. That's the guy. You want to get him.
They were on a Super Bowl high. Drunk as hell.
Yeah, they were on that Flacco smack. Or something. I don't know what's going on. But no, they definitely regret it. And this is Joe Flacco. What you're seeing now, this is Joe Flacco.
Exactly. Like Joe Flacco, what we saw in the regular season last year is him. He got hot in the playoffs. He won the Super Bowl. You can't take that away from him. But he's not continuing to play at that level, not even close. He's back to the same old Flacco, and I'm glad the whole AFC North sucks because we're still mathematically alive.
So is it like
had to make it about his Steelers.
I heard it in his voice as he was answering.
Is it like a Stanley Cup playoff type thing? Was Joe Flacco the hot goalie last season?
Basically, yes. Because I mean, if Ray Rice doesn't convert a 4th and 29, they probably don't even make the playoffs.
Yo, if Raheem Moore is an actual NFL cornerback, we're not even having this conversation.
No. His name is to never be spoken out loud ever again.
I mean, they got a lot of breaks last year to get into the playoffs and to even beat the Broncos, so they were just really lucky at the time.
I think Joe Flacco should send half of his paycheck to Denver. Attention, Raheem.
That has to happen in order to win a championship.
The breaks. Yeah, gotta get those breaks.
You have to have a lot of breaks. I mean, no disrespect, Frank, but I was watching the first bowl, the Eli Manning Bowl, and so many things went right for them to win that game. Asante Samuel dropped an interception. Eli was in the grass, somehow got out and threw a pass that was caught on somebody's helmet. Like, so when you look at these Super Bowl games, the Super Bowl runs, there are a lot of things that have to happen for you to kind of win the bowl. You know, it's what it is.
This is definitely
it happens every
year. You start to see those, when you start to see those things
it.
happen, you might just be like, look, it's their year.
Every team that wins it, you can point to a few plays that they did get lucky. I mean, no one just runs through everyone. You got to have breaks go your way to win a Super Bowl.
Yeah, like that play right before halftime when the Steelers beat the Cardinals.
Well, that was a great defensive.
Yeah. That one too. That was a crazy play too.
That wasn't luck. That was just a great defense.
Yeah, if you watch the DVD, Tomlin says back up and changes into pass coverage
the last second. Did he just say the DVD though?
Yeah.
You put that in your Walkman or what?
I definitely.
How do you watch that?
Did you say B. Austin?
a lot
I
lately.
definitely feel like Joe Flacco, they overpaid it. The Ravens overpaid it. But the question that I have playing devil's advocate, if you don't pay Joe Flacco that money, what are you left with? What is the result? I definitely.
But
think
does anybody else pay Joe Flacco that money?
Yeah, and that
because
becomes
he
the
didn't
question.
win them a Super Bowl, so I don't know if anybody else
was
is
on the
that
right.
giddy at the time.
I don't put that kind of faith in no one. Somebody would have paid him that money because somebody had been dumb enough to, because they're all dumb.
Right, and that becomes the thing that I think the Ravens were looking over their shoulder. It's not so much that they wanted to pay Joe that money, but I think they felt as though they had to, because he would have left if they didn't, even for a little less money, because he would have felt as though they were insulting him by not offering. So I think they felt they had to. There are three types of quarterbacks, man. There's the dudes that are your Peytons and your Bradys, your Aaron Rodgers, your Drew Brees, that make guys better, that you pay those ridiculous sums to. Then you have the guys that you have to surround them with talent. I think what we're seeing with Joe Flacco is a lack of talent on the offensive side of the ball, and they're asking him to do more than he's ever done before.
They're asking him to do
$20
million worth.
Yeah.
Asking him for $100 million work.
Yeah, they asked him for $100 million work.
You got to look at it this way:
he's a $40 million guy.
When he's throwing 51 times and Ray Rice is touching it at 7, they're not going to
win. But that's ridiculous.
Right.
Whose fault is that? Is that his fault or the play call? Like,
it's not.
It's
the play. They should be asking him to hand the ball to Ray Rice, but they're not doing it. I don't understand.
Yo, what are they? They're really high on Pierce for some, or maybe it's they don't want to pay.
No, but it's not even that.
Ray Rice was injured.
But do you remember this last year? They started doing this nonsense where they stopped running the ball. They were throwing it 1,000 times a game.
Mm-hmm. Yep. They got my man Torrey Smith though.
That was the whole thing. They wanted to take
Torrey Smith.
They wanted to take the team away from being a defensive team, and then they wanted to not only give the team to the offense, but give the team to Joe Flacco. But you have one of the most versatile running backs in the league.
Yeah,
you just can't ignore him.
They're following the league-wide trend of passing, and that doesn't fit their team at all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, how's that working out?
Your team's doing that too, Jim.
How about the same thing?
Your team's doing that too, Jim.
How's it working?
Ben's playing pretty well, though, all things considered.
There's a lot of things to consider there. Then.
Yeah. All right, guys, let's give our picks for this upcoming Week 5, and
800 yards and 2 games.
So I'm just going to start with everything that we agree on. These are the unanimous picks. We all have Cleveland over Buffalo, Green Bay over Detroit, Denver over Dallas, San Francisco over Houston. Atlanta over the Jets, and St. Louis over Jacksonville. I don't think I'll ever pick Jacksonville ever again in life. So let's
do the
They can beat the Steelers. They can beat the Steelers.
We'll see.
Right, so
I didn't say that, Jim. That's not me.
We're gonna do our 3 biggest games of the week, and then the rest of the games you guys can see in the dialogue box below the video once it comes out. Saints versus Bears. I will start with you, B. Austin. This game is in the new Soldier Field. Saints versus Bears.
Who that gonna beat them Saints? Saints. I'm taking Saints.
All right, I'm actually gonna take the Bears on this one just because they're the home team.
Sure.
Frank, who you got? Saints, Bears.
The Chicago silent fart sneaky stink Bears not gonna get it done. Drew Brees on his tear to MVP.
I just think even against the Bears, I don't think the Saints defensive line is going to get it done like they did versus the Dolphins. So if they don't get that pressure, even Cutler with his 2 interceptions that he's going to throw,
he walks in the game with 2 picks. He's
still going to be able to chop them up. He got some weapons out there. He got his Matt Forte running the ball out of the backfield, throwing the ball. He got Brandon Marshall, Alshon Jeffries. I think the Bears will get this one done. Jim, who you got?
I just don't think there's any way Chicago stops New Orleans. They've given up astronomical yardage the last 2 games, and the way Drew Brees is playing right now, you're not going to stop him. If you can't stop Detroit from racking it up on you, you're not going to stop Drew Brees.
Call Urlacher back. Jimmy, who you got?
Yo, I'm taking the Saints. We just talked about Drew Brees putting up John Elway's quarterback numbers. And I'm talking about the video game, not the player. Drew Brees is putting up crazy numbers right now. This looks like a video game the way he's playing. So I'm not going to pick against him. And I also know that Cutler starts the game off with 2 picks. We just don't know what quarter, but 2 picks are coming. So I'm going to take the Saints.
All right. So I guess I'm out on Revis Island with that one. Patriots versus the Bengals. I'm going to stick with you with this one, Jimmy. Patriots going to
I'm taking the Bengals. And listen to this logic here. The Bengals looked so bad last week that they can't look any worse. And I think the Patriots are due for a letdown because the Patriots are winning games, and they're not really playing great football, so I'm going to go with the Bengals.
All right, Jim?
There's no way Andy Dalton beats Tom Brady.
How simple as that?
They're not guarding each other. But, Jim, go ahead. I mean, Frank.
What's funny about that logic is people said there was no way Andy Dalton was going to beat Aaron Rodgers, and see how that worked out. But I got the Bengals. I'm with Jimmy. I think the Bengals are they're just one of those teams where they're going to pull off they're going to beat great teams and lose to bad teams. They're just going to have that kind of season.
Yeah.
And I think the Patriots Tom Brady's literally throwing the people on the street. Like, he's picking people up off the street and he's throwing it to them. He's supposed to get some weapons back, but I got the Bengals at home.
Got the Pep Boys back on his roster, Manny, Mo, and Jack. I agree with Frank and Jimmy. I think the Patriots are due for a letdown. Like Jimmy said, they're not playing that great. I mean, that shows that you're a great team when you don't have to play great and you still pull out games. But people are just dropping every week. They just lost Vince Wilfork, so the defense is going to have a whole new look come this Sunday. So I think Cincinnati's going to pull that out too. B. Austin, who you got?
Man, I agree with everything you gentlemen are saying. I just don't think it's going to happen to the Patriots this week. So I'm going with the Pats, baby.
I mean, think about it. On the flip side, if they haven't been playing that great, aren't they due for one of their great games rather than keep letting down?
That's a way to look at it as well. But not with the team dropping. The talent is dropping on the team, though.
Jim, I got a tryout with the Patriots.
Hey, Kembrell Tompkins looks for real, doesn't he?
It's like the talent is decreasing.
No grown man should be named Kimbra. What the hell is a Kimbra? I'm sorry, Dad. Go ahead. What's the next game?
That Wilfork injury in my head.
That is big. That's big, Paul.
All right, we got Seattle going into Lucas Oil Stadium to take on the Colts. B. Austin, who you got?
I got Richard Sherman and the boys. Shout out to Richard Sherman.
That's his squad.
Sea Chickens. Yeah, it's his.
Actually, I had the Seahawks going into Indy and beating them too. Indianapolis to me is another team. Their record is pretty good right now, but I don't think they're playing that great. So I think when more I don't know what San Francisco is right now because they did smack San Francisco, but it seems like when better teams like this come into Indy, they're probably going to leave with a victory. Frank, who you got?
Speaking of teams due for a loss, if the Patriots are due for a loss, the Seahawks are definitely due because they're 4-0. They've won 2 games that they definitely should not have won.
Should have lost last week.
Talk to him, Frank.
Matt, if you want to talk about giving away a game, Matt Schaub, man, he pulled the Jay Cutler. He hit him with the Jay Cutler pick 6, crunch time pick 6. But I got Indianapolis winning. I'm gonna be curious how Trent Richardson does in his first. I consider this his first game, where we're expecting him to do well. Bradshaw's probably out. He's got the playbook. He should at least. He said during a post-game interview that he's been studying 4 hours, 2 hours before practice, 2 hours after practice, staying after Trent Richardson and the Colts.
I don't think it's but anyway.
No, but I picked against Seattle last week and thought, it was a pretty good pick because Houston looked like they had the game won. So I think that's why I'm a little afraid to pick against them this week. Jim, who you got?
I think this is going to be the game of the week. I think it's going to be a great one to watch. But in the end, I think Seattle's defense makes more plays, and for that reason, they'll win. But it's going to be a really good game.
Jimmy?
Yo, I'm rolling with the Colts for the same logic that Frank had. That's why I picked the Colts. Seattle is due for a loss the way they're playing. And also, Andrew Luck, man, watching this guy play, watching his mobility, which he never gets credit for, they're winning with Trent Richardson not even doing anything. I think they're going to win this game. They're at home.
Andrew Luck's good for a rushing touchdown every week, and people really don't.
Every game is no one talks about his.
It's reverse racism, man. They're taking away my man's mobility because of his wife, man. Stop hating on Andrew Luck. He's a mobile quarterback too.
All I'm saying is this: I'm taking the Colts to win against Seattle. I think Seattle may be the better team, but the better team loses this week. That's just how I see it.
B. Austin's basically saying Andrew Luck's going to star in White Man Can't Run. Is that
You're
what you're saying?
beat Ducky McKay.
Billy Hoyle.
Hey. All right. So, like we said, the rest of our picks for this week will be in the little box below. So make sure you check those out. Leave us a comment. Make sure you like the video. Just, open up that dialogue with us. Of course, like I always tell you, we might come on to the dialogue and tell you that you're wrong about whatever you're saying, but we do like to talk to you guys. So until next week, everybody, this has been another episode of Field Vision brought to you by War Room Sports and Sports Kings. I'm one of your hosts, Devin McMillan. Like we always say, don't accept mediocrity. Be steadfast in the war against ignorance.
See you chumps on top.
Wait, it's the War Room with 5 nights at the round table. 5 Philly guys diversified and educated.